I'm going to show you how to make your water heater last forever. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Mike, the handy homeowner here, trying to make you a handier homeowner, save some money and get some stuff done around your house. So the project we're doing today is we're going to change the sacrificial anode in our water heater. So I may have exaggerated a little bit with making the water heater last forever, but it can definitely last a lot longer if you change the sacrificial anode that is inside of it. Now, for many years, I didn't even know that that was in there. I actually found that out recently, and most of the time, everyone would tell you, oh, a water heater lasts, 7 to 10 years, and then they're no good. Well, the reason they go bad is because they rust out from the inside. But if you change the sacrificial anode that's inside of it, it can last twice as long. All right, so let's talk about what a sacrificial anode is. Let me show you what it is. First of all, it's this piece of metal here, still in the packaging. It has a threaded end on it here with a hex head on it like a bolt that is 1 1/16 inches inside. This thing's typically made from aluminum and or zinc, and what happens is that the electrolytes in the water will attack any metal that's around. So if the water heater was only made of steel and didn't have this in it, the electrolytes in the water will attack that metal and then cause it to rust out and oxidize. So what this does is it gives those electrolytes something to attack before it attacks the steel of the water heater, therefore making the water heater last a lot longer. Now the beauty of it is that a water heater can be a few $100s or quite a bit more if you have it professionally installed. But changing this thing costs like $25 or $30 at the Home Depot or other hardware store wherever you go. And there are a couple different versions. This one here is aluminum. It has a thin section here that allows it to flex and bend. And this is, you could either bend it to get it into a tight spot over your water heater, kind of like I have behind me here, and I'll show you in a minute. But the other thing, they make some that are connected with a little bit of a chain or something that you can actually completely flex them, get it in the water heater piece by piece. Even if you were to break it into pieces and drop it in, as long as this last piece is in there and threaded in, you could always pull that out to see the condition of it. And when it's getting pretty worn off, every 3 to 5 years is usually how long, then you can take that and replace it and drop in a whole new one. The one thing that you may not readily have available would be the size socket that you need to actually loosen this anode. It's 1 1/16 inch in size. It's a little bit on the big side. It's not in your normal socket sets. So you'd have to probably go to the store and buy one of these special. If you work on cars a lot, you might actually have one of these. I actually have an impact socket set that has this size in it. Now, we moved into this house about 1.5 years ago, and I had never done this before. So we're gonna see how bad this one really is and see what kind of life we can still get out of this water heater that's here. If you were to take a look at your water heater, you'll probably find a cap such as this one. And what you need to do is pop that cap off. You can use a screwdriver, kind of get under it, and just pop this off a little at a time, side to side, and it'll come right off. And you'll see inside there is the hex head of the old anode that's currently in there. Now there's a couple things you need to do before you just go ahead and loosen that up and take it out. So first thing you need to do is shut off the water to the water heater. You'll have a cold water pipe leading to that thing. It may have a shut off right above the water heater. That would be ideal. If you don't have one there, this might be a good time to add one, and we might do that in a future video, so watch for that. In my case, the water to the house is where I'll have to go to shut the water off to the hot water heater. So I have to find the main valve here and tighten that down to turn the water off to the house. What I'm also going to do is run some water out of the pipes so that I have a little less pressure in all the pipes of the house. You'll also need to drain out maybe about 1 gallon of water You can do a little more, and that's fine too, but you'll need to drain out a little bit of the water out of the water heater. And different water heaters have a little different kind of drain system, but typically look for somewhere that you can connect a garden hose, and that would be where you'll be emptying the water from. Once you get about a gallon of water out, you can close that up and go dump that out, and you should be ready to go. So like I said, you're gonna need a 1 1/16 inch socket for this. And there are a couple of options you have as far as how to get this anode out. One way would be to use something like a breaker bar or a large socket with an extension handle. And if you choose that option, okay, you may need another person to hold the water heater, because as you go to loosen it and then later to tighten it, the whole water heater is going to want to rotate, and you definitely don't want to put any excess force on these joints on your water pipes. So it's real important that you have someone holding it and to try to keep it from spinning. Now what I'm going to do is use an impact wrench that I have, and that should eliminate that problem for me. I have an impact wrench that should be more than enough to get this loose, and let's see what happens. Good Lord, that is on there. I honestly cannot believe how hard that is to get off. There we go. Now this is hot because we have our water set nice and hot. Let me get some gloves. Okay, so let me keep pulling this out. I'd say all in all, this doesn't really look too bad. You can see it's got some corrosion on it, and the problem is that it's coated completely with all the junk on here, probably lime or whatever was in the water. Calcium deposits and all the hard water. So this new one that I'm going to put in has these joints where I can bend it to help me get it in. The old one didn't have that, and I was actually able to kind of snake it up through the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I have to do to get this one in. I can straighten that out a little. Now one thing I'm going to want to do before I get this all the way in is I'm going to put a little bit of Teflon tape around these threads. We don't need a lot, just a little bit. One good wrap, and just snap that off. And that should do it. What I'm going to do as I lower this into place is I'm going to bend it back straight if I can. There we go. Just want to kind of straighten it back out if I can, so that when I tighten it up, it'll go in and turn. Now I'm going to use the socket and just by hand start these threads so that I don't risk cross threading it. I want to make sure it's not going to be all cross threaded and goofed up. Okay, let me show you guys one of the problems I'm seeing here. If you look, you can see the threads of this water heater are gunked up with the threads from the old anode rod. So I'm going to need to get that out before I can thread the new one in. And you can see how on this old one some of the threads literally sheared off of it. Alright, I'm just going to take a screwdriver here, chip out some of these threads that are stuck. Oh yeah, they're popping right loose. See if I can get better lighting on that. There we go. Now those threads look a little cleaner. Alright, now that we've got these threads cleaned up, let's try to put this in again. Keeping the anode rod pretty straight so I can get it to thread in pretty easily here. And there we go. Now we're getting some nice thread on it. To tighten it though, I am going to start out with a socket and ratchet. And then we're going to hit that with an impact after that. That should be pretty tight. So just like with the removal, when you're putting it back, if you don't have an impact wrench like I just used, you're gonna need to have another person holding the water tank so that it can't rotate and mess up your other piping. After it's together, just gonna put that cap back on. And that's all you gotta do there. Lastly, you'd wanna turn the water back on at the house or to the water tank. And after the water's back on, just check for any leaks. Make sure everything looks good. Last but not least, go ahead and take a marker and write the date of when you changed that anode rod. That way in a few years you won't have to think back and remember. You'll be able to always look at your water heater and remember when the last time was that you did it. Well guys, that's all there is to it. You know, it's pretty simple. We did have a little bit of a snag with some of those threads that sheared off the old one, so just take your time, take a good look at what you've got going on. You know, you might have a little problem or two, but that's all right. It's nothing you can't handle. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you out. We'll see you in the next video.